Hi, my name is John Hand, and today on Horror Digest, we're going to explore a lesser-known work from Texas Chainsaw Massacre director Tobe Hooper. In fact, the film he made directly after Texas Chainsaw Massacre goes by many names: Death Trap, Starlight Slaughter. I know it as Eaten Alive.
If you were one of the millions of moviegoers who were electrified by the unbearable suspense and sheer terror of Jaws, get ready for Eaten Alive. Created by Tobe Hooper, maker of the screen sensation, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Marty Rustin presents a new horror classic, Eaten Alive.
Eaten Alive takes place in the same kind of background as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, kind of rural, middle-of-nowhere place. In particular, it starts in this little tiny whorehouse shack where Buck, played by Robert Englund, is trying to take advantage of one of the newest prostitutes, a little young girl named Libby. And Libby doesn't like the kind of tricks that Buck wants to pull, so she gets kicked out of the whorehouse by the den mother, played by Carolyn Jones. Morticia Addams, from the Addams family, and she walks away from the whorehouse into the middle of nowhere, and she finds a hotel to stay at for the night, the Starlight Hotel, run by an eccentric, strange vet, Judd, played by Neville Brand. And Judd is a bit unhinged, a bit crazy, and one of his greatest pastimes when he's not running around with a Sith in the middle of this rural nowhere, shrouded in layers of fog. One of his other pastimes is feeding his boarders to his pet alligator, which kind of lives underneath his hotel in a kind of moat. And this usually happens after he's kind of sliced them up and killed them a little bit. So basically, Libby comes to a very bad end. Her concerned, older, troubled father, played by Mel Ferrer, shows up. They're always troubled, sick, concerned fathers dressed in suits in these films. They're always coming after these young girls. They're lurking around every corner. the dads, the concerned dads. You know, you wonder where the concerned dads were in the first place when they let their daughters get into these crazy situations. But nevertheless, Mel Ferrer shows up, eventually finds himself at the same hotel where his daughter was killed, and along with another family who also shows up. Everybody shows up in the middle of nowhere at this hotel and starts staying at this hotel. A very troubled couple played by Marilyn Burns and William Finley. William Finley from those great De Palma films like Sisters and Family of the Paradise. Winslow Leach shows up, married to Marilyn Burns. In this film, he already starts out, he's unhinged and crazy. He's not playing a normal figure. But then again, William Finley never really played a normal character in a film. He was always kind of weird and unhinged. And basically, there is a lot of strange insanity that follows therein. That's about it. That's about a good plot synopsis that I can come up with. It's not a really complex film. And it follows in the tradition of Texas Chainsaw Massacre in that basically it's just it's a very linear track of a story which just takes place over a couple of nights, seemingly a kind of an endless night, really, as these group of people who find themselves unlucky enough to cross paths with this insane, crazed man and his alligator, a rather fake-looking alligator, meet a bad end. And it's all cast against this weird sky. There's all these stock shots of the moon, and which kind of remind you not so subtly of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The music, concrete, very strange experimental soundtrack seems right out of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's overall a very satisfying experience, I think, for people who are fans of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I know my first experience with Eaten Alive came when I watched a trailer on a Prism VHS tape in the late 80s. This is a tape for, I believe, Shockwaves. And I don't know if any of you ever watched Prism VHS tapes, but they would play trailers at the beginning. The trailers were usually in very bad condition, very dark, rough, bad video transfers. Even for the day, I think they were very bad video transfers. And the trailer would start up, and the entire running time of the trailer, you would have the name of the film superimposed over the lower half, and it just really bothered me. It would be like, Eaten Alive. I think it was even quotes, but it was just this big white, thing over the credits and over this entire trailer, and it's rather annoying. But even with that distraction, the trailer for Eaten Alive seemed totally crazy. It's totally insane. I mean, it's just scenes of this maniacal Neville Brand running around, brandishing this Sith and running after people, and his alligator, going and chomping down. I mean, it's just crazy. The entire cast of this film is crazy. The film features an early performance by Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund as Buck. And in fact, the film begins with the famous lines, my name's Buck, I came here to fuck, which was kind of, I think, lifted by Tarantino for Kill Bill. And this was kind of the stage of Robert Englund's career, where he was doing these rural scumbag type characters. Like, he was a really good one. This reminds me of what he was doing like in it's kind of like in Dead and Buried. Marilyn Burns is at her screaming best here. She's just wonderful, beautiful, and just by the end of the film, it just gets completely messed up and hysterical and insane. It's full of all these Hollywood stars who are at a B-movie level, but at the same time, to have this collision of Stuart Whitman is in the film, and he plays the kind sheriff. Mel Ferrer plays the concerned father. Carolyn Jones plays the madam in the film, and it's all a very strange mixture. I mean, to me, the film, many people who've watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre and love Tobe Hooper are kind of let down by this film. I think they see this as a really kind of muddled, confused mess, and they see later films such as The Funhouse and Poltergeist as a kind of return to form. But I think this film is a wonderful companion piece of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because in the sense that Texas Chainsaw Massacre feels, to me, in some ways, so earthy and so grounded and realistic, where you almost feel that you're a participant in these scenes. Eaten Alive has a very similar plot and a very similar drive to it, but in some ways it feels totally surreal, totally stylized in a way. It must have been, to a certain extent, intentional on Tobe Hooper's part to create such a stylized film. And almost the entirety of Eaten Alive takes place on this set, this Starlight Hotel set, which is obviously fake. It looks very much like a set. It's complete, like, eternal night. There's these billowing fog clouds which play a big part in one sequence as Judd is chasing a victim through these strange woods, and it's kind of like Leatherface chasing Marilyn Burns in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it's just totally surreal and stylized. And it seems like every character in this film is wearing a mask or under some heavy makeup, or almost like kabuki, or some kind of stylized form of ritualized theater. Carolyn Jones as the madam is like caked in this age makeup, which she looks like some kind of Egyptian mummy or something. It's strange, and the prostitute at the beginning of the film who gets murdered is wearing a wig. Marilyn Burns is wearing a wig. Judd, Neville Brand, is wearing a wig and is looking totally unlike Neville Brand. I mean, I know you probably will recognize Neville Brand from some of his films he did. He's a classic Hollywood star, but like he was in The Ninth Configuration, and he's usually very clean-cut, nice-looking older gentleman. He looks like a totally ragged person in this film. And in some ways, this film, in the same way that Texas Chainsaw Massacre was based on the Ed Gein case, this film is kind of based on another kind of infamous figure in Texas, Joe Ball. There's actually a whole documentary on Joe Ball on the 2-disc Eaten Alive DVD from Dark Sky. But Joe Ball was this Texas figure, this bar owner who had an alligator pit in the back of his bar, and there was always some allegations that he actually fed some girls to these alligators, and he committed suicide. It was never really quite proven that anything like that occurred. It was just kind of a bit of a myth. But at the same time, Tobe Hooper, took that kind of German idea and allowed it to flourish into Eaten Alive in the same way that he wanted to basically make a whole family full of Ed Geins in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I think it's a really great film to kind of enjoy and check out. I think if you're into Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and maybe you possibly might be, I think you might really love Eaten Alive. As I was saying a couple of seconds ago, the 2-disc Dark Skies DVD set is wonderful. I picked it up actually during an October where it was for some reason being sold at Walmart, and it was available in a lot of major retailers. But it is just a wonderful, strange little film that I really think you'll enjoy.
Marty Rustum presents Eaten Alive. Mel Ferrer, Carolyn Jones, Stuart Whitman, Neville Brand. Get ready for Eaten Alive, a new horror classic.